Oh, that's the lovely. 58th cup of the day, I think.
It is lovely.
Okay, cool. Right, I'm going to go.
Good.
Today is an important day for anyone who is part of a community, part of a group of people where they're not quite sure what the direction they're going in is. I've wanted to do a show on cults for ages, and I did say cults, right? So it turns out that a friend of mine who I've known for 1,000 years, even though she's not that old, right, actually grew up inside a cult, a bona fide cult. Now, for look, those of you who don't know, cults are groups of people who use tricks to envelop you in love and then indoctrinate you. And that's the word you're going to hear a lot today, and we will explain it. Hannah, welcome.
Hello.
Lee, you all right?
I'm good, mate. I'm good.
Okay. Hannah, we say cult.
Yes.
We could also say religion.
Yes.
Who was it that you were with?
Well, it was a totally outside the norm sect of the Hare Krishnas.
Okay, so let's be crystal clear about this. This was not mainstream Hare Krishna.
No.
Right? This was a sect that chose to use their position to their own ends.
Yeah.
And we will go into those ends in a bit. How long altogether were you in that cult?
About 2 years.
Okay, 2 years.
Yeah.
And in that 2 years, you went through an awful lot.
Yes.
Okay, I'm wincing because I already know, right?
Yeah.
But okay, so let's start from the very beginning. Okay, we're going to gloss over the childhood, but we're going to.
Yeah.
What were the main causes of insecurities or doubts about childhood?
Yeah. So as you say, I had quite a difficult childhood. Lots of loss. Lots of issues with family members. And then along came this guy that I met, and I fell in love with him. Mm-hmm. And so, of course, I was willing to convert for him.
Okay. How old were you then?
I was 15 at the time.
Okay, so
but
the age is only important, not for where we're going with this, but because you've had a difficult childhood.
Yeah.
Right? You are vulnerable. And you're looking for love and acceptance.
Yes.
And then along comes
this guy who treats me nicely, like takes me out to dinner, doesn't expect anything, not pressuring me like other teenage boys that I was around.
Yeah.
So
what are you going to do?
Exactly. He was a gentleman.
Okay. So how did you meet?
On holiday, actually.
Right.
Of all things.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what okay. So you lived around here.
Yeah.
Right. Where were you on holiday?
It was like a big coach trip around America.
Okay, America.
Yeah.
Okay, I did not know that.
Coach trip around California and that.
Okay, with family?
I went with my uncle and my mum.
Okay.
So of course there were 3 of us, which left an odd seat on the coach.
Oh man.
And I got paired up sitting next to the other odd person
on the coach.
Who was that guy?
How old was he, roughly? just we got to set the scene, right? Roughly, just in his what?
He was 15 years older.
Okay, well that's all right. I mean that's normal because as a 15-year-old you're going to look up to that, right?
Yes.
Okay, you don't have to be embarrassed because nobody's going to judge you about any of this. Okay. Right. The only reason I'm setting this scene is when you're 15, right? You have every hormone in the universe running around your body, right? You're very impressionable. You are also looking for validation 24/7.
Yeah.
So someone comes along and flashes their teeth at you and then validates you just by paying attention to you in the first place on a coach.
Yeah. Basically.
Okay, so how does this manifest itself?
I will say he was not predatory. I was the one asking him questions, trying to make conversation.
Okay. So I mean but you see that's even okay. Let's take my judgment of him out of it.
Yes.
Right? So, okay, you're on a coach trip, you're in America, which is pretty damn huge as a kid.
Yeah.
Right? So after America,
Yeah.
how did that situation turn into a situation in this country?
Okay. So he's a northerner.
Right.
So he would like drive down and visit me. And again,
Right. So he was an English person on the same coach trip?
Yes.
God damn, I'm stupid. I just assumed that was an American.
No.
Because all Americans are in cults, aren't they? Oh no, that was a joke.
Oh.
Okay. So, he would come and visit you. So normal boyfriend, kind of scenario.
Yeah.
Without any pressure, without any judgment.
Exactly.
Okay. So how long did it take for you to feel comfortable enough and him to see that before, come to this course or come and join me doing this?
Well, I was kind of asking him about his religion because I saw that he carried a different book that wasn't the Bible,
right. Mm-hmm.
And so I was asking what that was, and like I've always been interested in like other cultures and all sorts, like just gain as much info as I can. As I say, I just kept asking questions, and he was like, okay, well, I'm a Hare Krishna, I do this, that, the other.
What's the fundamental?
Come to the temple.
Okay, right. What's the fundamental part of Hare Krishna?
Okay, so Hare Krishnas are basically like an offshoot of Hinduism.
Okay.
So it's things like avoiding caffeine and cigarettes and living a good, pure life. Really?
Jesus Christ.
Yes.
They wouldn't have indoctrinated me then, would they?
No.
But not Jesus Christ, I would imagine. It plays a part in it.
Well, that's probably because I said that to that reaction, so they're not going to want me anyway. Right, so why... Oh, you see, there's so many questions. When you've got a situation where somebody is grooming you, basically, but are you being groomed or is he being friendly? Did he set out to groom you, do you think? He didn't?
No.
Are you genuinely sure about that, considering where you ended up?
Well, that's a good question.
Yeah.
But, as I say, I kept asking him questions.
The only thing when you're a child, because you were
difficult,
because if you show interest in them, they will facilitate you having your interest. So therefore, by him answering your questions, he's opening. I'm an open book. You can ask me anything.
Yeah. That is true.
And also, if you are in a position where you are going on a holiday on your own, was that his mission? To find somebody?
No.
No?
No.
Good. Right, well, in that case, I feel better about the whole situation for you. Not that it's got anything to do with me. Okay, so after all this, and you're dating normally, then what's the next step? What's the next step from that?
Ooh, right. So we started... like just hanging out, going to the local temple. That's lovely. And so they're very kind of chilled out, easygoing. Like obviously living by the core values,
right? But
in a very chilled out, happy, positive kind of way.
So you're not self-flagellating. You're just existing.
No, exactly.
Okay.
You are just making sure that the way you live your life is kind of tailored towards the things set out in their holy book.
Okay, what's their holy book called?
The Bhagavad Gita.
Of course it is. Okay, I didn't know that. Say it again.
Bhagavad Gita.
Okay, that's cool. If you, without all of the nastiness, if you take that book at face value, can it teach you how to live well for yourself, do you think?
Well, it's akin to the Bible, you know. It has its lessons in there, it has some problematic parts in there, as any holy text. Okay, so
that kind of validates even more my position on holy texts and holy books, which is basically introduced for social control. So Hinduism in itself is one of the more peaceful religions and all of that, but then you twist it slightly and you put a different spin on it, then all of a sudden you've got another book that covers another million people that need to be told how to behave. And the Bible does it, the Quran does it. Every single holy text has a message and words to live by. Should you choose to accept them. I struggle, right? to know how a 15-year-old would not, you just wouldn't see it coming, would you? Because you didn't.
No.
Okay.
As I say, I was young and stupid and in love and finally feeling that acceptance.
Okay. So, on the face value of it, because you say...
It started off quite positive.
Yeah, well, it usually does. So, he wasn't grooming you, but you don't know. That's a grey area right now.
Exactly.
Okay, what's the next step? Right, you're in the temple, you're seeing the chilled out. What happens next?
Yeah, so, as I say, it was just basic things like go vegetarian. Mm-hmm. Okay, cut out meat. It's like, oh, you need to cut out eggs as well. Okay.
Right.
Got there eventually. It's a bit like that joke, how do you find the vegan in a room? Mm. They'll find you.
Yeah, they'll tell you.
Yeah, okay. I became that horrible preachy person because I was repeating the things that had been said to me.
Right. So indoctrination has
exactly.
happened already. Right, okay, can I need to explain something about cults. The way they work, right, is, have you heard of memetics? Right, memetic virus. Okay. Basically, when you're indoctrinated,
like
yeah. So, like, you are indoctrinated with these thoughts and feelings, and you go, do you know what? This is right, and I'm being accepted by these people. And this virus, then you tell your family, your friends, and they join. They tell their family, their friends, that there is a memetic virus.
Yeah.
It spreads like wildfire to susceptible people.
Yes.
Now, susceptibility can be anything, but anyone who is lacking love, looking for understanding, looking for knowledge, just looking for support in a decision can fall foul to this, right?
Yes.
Every single person can fall foul of some kind of cult. And everyone will say, well, that won't happen to me. I'll tell you this, they are the people usually that it does happen to.
Yeah.
Because they ask the questions. They are the ones that get themselves dug in before they even realise it.
Exactly. And I was that rebelling teenager whose mum was saying no, so I was all the more stubborn, and I was definitely going.
So, okay, when did you stop? Did you stop going out with this guy and then move on to...
No, it was this one guy.
Yeah, okay.
And as I say, he took me to this lovely local temple.
What's a temple look like? Sorry to interrupt.
Okay.
Is it like a golden thing, or is it a house in Slough, or is it... Do you know what I mean?
The manor house used to belong to George Harrison of the Beatles.
Oh, it's George Harrison. Right, so the Beatles. Harry Krishna.
Yep.
Hence the song, dear.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the lovely temple.
Yeah, he left his whole house to Harry Krishna. I bet his wife was super happy about that. And his son, who looks just like him. It's really weird. Okay, so you went to George Harrison's house?
Yeah.
Were there any guitars? Sorry, frivolous. Okay, so that's not a fucking temple, man. That's literally a manor house. That's literally house, gardens.
Beautiful house, beautiful gardens. As I say, lovely, chilled out, beautiful surroundings.
Was it like a commune? Were there people living there?
Yeah, there were some monks and nuns that lived there. Monks and nuns.
Harry Krishna has monks and nuns.
Yeah, okay, so you've got monks and nuns that live in the temples and do all of the daily maintenance for running the temple, like cleaning the place, cooking the food that they give out to everybody.
Right.
And leading the services and all of that.
Okay.
And then you've also got what are called grihastas.
Right.
Okay, they're householders, people that have houses and jobs and regular daily lives, but they go to the temple like people go to church on a Sunday.
Cool. So societal plants, if you were cynical.
That is a very cynical.
But it's kind of true, right? Because how else do you get your congregation?
As I say, these are still the mainstream Hare Krishnas that we're cool with.
Are we? Right. No,
I am.
We are cool with them. I have looked into this, okay? The sect we are talking about was recognised basically because of people like yourself.
Yes.
Who turned around and went, holy shit, this is no good. But we're not there yet.
We're not there yet.
Okay, after going to the temple, right, and you're involved in this, right? Tell me how it feels Tell me how it feels to find people that you genuinely think, and they may well actually care for you and support you.
Yeah, as you say, the whole kind of like feeling part of something, feeling like life is worthwhile. It's not just all grief and suffering.
Yeah. So that is the Hare Krishna part of it.
Yeah.
Making community. And this community is not about underage girls. It's not about, you know, any of that.
No.
The Hare Krishna that is today, and I stress this again, is a completely different thing to what we're talking about here.
Yeah. No, I was just young and stupid, put myself in the wrong place.
Right. Yeah, okay. Maybe you did. Maybe you were put in the wrong place, whether you like it or not. Maybe that's still part of it.
It could have been any religion, couldn't it?
Yeah.
Exactly.
At this point.
At this point, any religion.
Fundamentalism is still fundamentalism.
That's key.
Whatever religion or gang or any other organisation.
I mean, I suppose if you look at it, I mean, I bought into all the bullshit from the motorcycle gangs.
Yeah.
Because,
I was going to draw that parallel.
I bet you've done some work.
Well, I think we said in a previous show as well. Obviously, Jehovah's Witnesses have a bad rep, yeah?
Mm.
But the people that are standing on the corners giving out copies of the Watchtower,
Mm.
are they consciously indoctrinating people, or do they think they are doing good by what they're doing?
I think
and offering a place of solace and calm and hope and everything else.
There are two sides to that, though, right?
Yeah.
So there are. I don't think necessarily they think they are indoctrinating anybody, because they have already been indoctrinated themselves.
Exactly.
So they are part of this wonderful community, all encompassing, all loving. I want to say the word love bombing, right? Because that's what happens. If you are broken in some way, if you have had trauma, if you are somebody who just needs a fucking hug, these fundamentalists can provide you with everything. I mean, basically, it's a facade, right? In a cult way, it's a facade. So you have this wonderful group of people, but that facade is covering something more sinister.
Yes.
Okay, so let's look at the sinister side of things, or you tell me the next step.
Well, I was going to say, like, the signs that somebody has been radicalised.
Yeah.
Okay, so isolating from family and friends.
Yeah.
Hello.
Anyone they can't.
I did it.
Anyone they can't indoctrinate.
And
how do they do that? How do they enforce that?
Okay, so this rogue group from up north.
Yeah.
Okay, they basically said sadhu sangha only. So you're only allowed to mix with other devotees.
Right. So
cut out
separation.
Anybody
who isn't part of us.
Beneath that, like not living their lives right. Who are they to tell you what to do? Because we know the right path.
Okay. That's yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
And the path to what? The path
exactly. Well,
enlightenment.
Yes. Enlightenment and back to God, or however you want to see that supreme being.
Yeah. Because the reward that you get
will
be provided in heaven.
Exactly.
If you live the right life here.
Yeah. So Godhead is their equivalent of heaven.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's very easily to control people. All religions do it.
Because, like, with Hinduism and the Hare Krishnas and that, there's the belief in reincarnation and karma. So you go round and round, you're born, you die. And then, if you find the right cheat codes, you can actually get up to heaven.
Oh, nice.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. So you go right, left, square, triangle, square.
That's the one. So you get off that merry-go-round of birth and death, and eventually you can get up to be with God.
Is the reward as well, if you live a certain amount of blameless lives, you come back as what you choose to be? Is that part of it? Because there has to be some other reward than being made to live again, because you could be a slag.
I'm trying to remember. Yeah, so as you say, like, lower creatures in the pecking order are, like, if you've lived a worse life, like, oh, you'll come back as a snail and be squashed so many times, you know? Like,
splendid. You'll
be burning off that bad karma, and then eventually you might get to be, say, a cow, and then you might get to be a human, you know?
Okay, so that kind of
I know
smacks...
that sounds...
No, that sounds perfectly. That sounds perfectly right. That smells of the Catholic purgatory, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
you're reliving these lives until you get it fucking
and being
right.
born in a better situation, the more of this knowledge that you take on, and bad karma you burn off, good karma you earn.
How do they explain away the fact that you don't remember your past life? You don't remember the bad things you did to make it right? Or do they just not?
I've forgotten or was never told.
Yeah, okay, that's mad. Okay, so you personally, where does this go?
Yeah, so as I said to you with the whole turning veggie thing, the scripted speech, repeating the same words that this bad temple, this bad leader was spouting, and basically condemning anybody that wasn't a devotee. But at the same time, you have to go out and do book distribution and preach to these people.
So by using the converting method, you can give the message out, thus perpetuating congregation.
It's like, oh, well, I don't know, but I work with this group of monks and nuns, and they've given me books to give out to people. Like, the books know more than I do, you know?
So that gets you out of having to explain it. This is mad. Right, it's clever as well, isn't it? Yikes.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're giving out books. Are you living in the compound? Or at their compound?
No, I wasn't at that time. I was secretly actually living with... Sorry.
Okay. That's all right. That's where the cracking comes in.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was secretly living with my partner at the time. This guy that I'd met.
Yeah.
But I really was not meant to be.
No. So
they thought I was still living with my family and just visiting with him, and then I'd go out on book distribution days.
Okay. So you were lying to the true faith, man.
I was.
Good on you.
Yes.
Thank God for that.
I know. And I felt awful.
Yeah, I bet you did, because the guilt would set in.
Yep.
Because you wanted to be part of this thing still. Was there any doubt at any point up to this point? Was there any doubt going, hold on a minute, what the fuck am I doing? Or was you just carried away by it?
I was, as you say, I was swept along with it. I was in love and converting for the man I loved, and so I was just learning as much as I could, trying to be as good a devotee and future wife as I could be.
Right. So, you see, I'm confused by him, right? And I'm not sticking pins in him. But if he was so involved in this sect of the Hare Krishna, why was he allowing himself?
Oh, he shouldn't have been.
Exactly that. Right? Is that not then an abuse of power? Considering he's right, and I'm not bringing this up for any other reason than he's double your age, right? He knows how the church works.
Yes, I was then 16 by this point.
Okay,
I will say.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Makes it slightly less.
I'm not looking.
But as I say, there was none of that anyway, because you were meant to be good and pure.
Yeah.
So.
I don't need to know about anything to do with that. What I'm concentrating on is the fact that, from the start, we're getting to abuse of power by an establishment. Yeah. But already there's an abuse of power by the person you are with against the church, but using the position of it. And did he say to you, you can't tell them what we're doing? Do you remember? I know it's a long time ago, but
it was a very long time ago. It feels like another lifetime.
It was, mate.
It basically was. So when the monks came round to visit him at the house that I lived at with him, I'd usually just go out for a walk, so that I wasn't there. I wasn't an issue.
But did you do that off your own volition, or did he tell you, look, you can't be here when they come?
Bit of both.
Right, okay.
Partly, I wasn't keen on their attitude because I saw how strong their conviction was to being monks and him being a monk. Right. And
okay. What would have happened if they'd have caught you?
That's a good question.
Yeah. Did you see anyone being punished for going against things?
No.
So they kept that to themselves?
Well, it's tricky. I mean, that's another factor I will get to later on. being chastised.
Mm.
Okay, so they had their very strong beliefs, and boy, were they going to tell you if you set foot out of line.
Okay.
And so my partner would lecture me for like an hour or two on the things that I had done wrong.
See, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
You're in a house living with somebody that's wrong.
Yeah.
Yet he's allowed to dictate to you.
Yeah, because this horrible leader used to preach that women were stupid and should be treated as children, although I sort of was still a child at that point.
Yep.
And like, because he was preaching to a load of monks, you know, that were meant to stay celibate, and so they should not have any interaction with women. Like, if they have to speak to them to be able to do their service in the temple, then so be it. But like, the women would just be like looking down at the floor and completely subservient.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I know, you've met me. That's not
I have met you, yeah. And I know you quite well, you know. But yeah. But that's presumably why you're not like that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, there was a fuck you moment.
Yeah.
Which we'll get to later.
Exactly.
Okay, so
Yeah.
where are we at with your notes? Where do you want to be?
Yeah, so again, the sudden disrespectful attitude to others, like shun the kami mlechas, you know, the non-devotee meat eaters, who are basically all going to hell to low births and what have you.
Yep.
And the increased anger, that's another sign of radicalization.
Anger in yourself against the others that are meat eaters and not going to be yours, or anger as a society.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I always felt sad and like pity rather than outright anger. I saw the anger of that leader.
Yeah.
Because he was very kind of hellfire and brimstone equivalent of like Old Testament kind of, you are going to do this.
Fundamentalism needs a leader that is driven by hate.
Yeah.
Right? Because then nobody else can match his level of focus,
Yeah.
of power. But you know as well as I do that he is behind the back of the fucking his mansion, smoking dope and fucking everything that walks. Usually in this kind of thing. I don't know whether that's
Don't think he was. No,
but if you,
He was eating a burger, maybe.
I think he had his own trauma.
Yeah, but look at the reality of, you know, like Jim Jones and all of that, okay? Right, it's a different cult,
Yes.
different way. But his influence and his stringent power managed to get 900 people to kill themselves.
Yeah.
300 of those were children, right? And if they hadn't have drunk the Kool-Aid with the poison in it, right, they'd have been shot anyway. Right, so, you know, cult people... He never had an interest in anything other than having a flock of people that he could totally control.
Yeah.
And also, you know, obviously all the women, you know, Koresh, you know, Waco, Texas. He had a whole flock of following who were all social rejects.
Yeah.
And people who just needed some guidance, somewhere to be, someone to guide them into it.
Yeah.
So... I mean, all right, this isn't quite the Waco burning ending, but still,
No.
you went through some pretty horrible shit at the end, right?
Indeed. And like one of the core principles was that you were to trust the scripture, not trust your mind.
Okay.
Your mind was the enemy, telling you stories.
Right, so you basically...
Like the proverbial kind of devil on your shoulder,
Yeah.
telling you bad ideas, whereas the scripture is right.
So they're gaslighting you.
Yeah.
They are making you feel like you're mad.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Any critical thought opposing what they were preaching, well, that's just your mind talking.
Yeah,
Don't
that's
listen
you.
to it. You need to control your mind and not listen to that.
How odd.
Yeah.
Actually, I mean, looking at it from an outsider's point of view, flat, it's fucking obvious what they're doing. Right? It's
Yeah.
fucking obvious. But I guarantee, and I haven't been in a cult, But as I say, I've been part of organisations that were stupidly fucked up.
Yeah.
Right? So...
Well, it's that old thing of the frog in a pot of water, isn't it? If the water starts off cold and gradually heats up, the frog won't know.
No, he won't know,
until it's too late.
If it was hot water, in fact...
Immediately boiling, jump straight out.
Holy shit.
So you were gradually indoctrinated and it cranked up the pressure.
So you don't notice.
No.
You just don't notice.
No.
Because also, you're still enamoured with belonging.
Yeah.
The same as a controlling relationship, isn't it?
Yeah.
Dunno. Not in one.
They start off
Well, it
complimenting
was.
you, telling you
Yeah.
how amazing you are,
Yeah.
and gradually that turns round to the point where...
Well, it is a controlling relationship.
It was.
But this is
exactly.
automatic.
but I mean, as a partnership,
Yeah.
it's the same principle.
Yeah, absolutely is. If you...
Like being in a relationship with a narcissist.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's not fun either, I wouldn't have thought. When did you start to realise...
Okay. Right. So I'd been up to this rogue temple a few times, and I'd heard this scary leader preaching hellfire style, and I was like, "But what about the other lovely temple that we went to? Is he saying that they're wrong then? I thought it was the same religion. Like, why is he in one breath saying women are stupid and shouldn't be listened to, and in the next breath saying you're the soul, not the body? How does that add up? Why are you going to punish me for being a woman if I am the soul? This body is just a vessel."
It's irrelevant.
So what
That's irrelevant, isn't
time
it?
span are we looking at here for you to be able to question it?
So by that point I was almost 17. I had my
so like a
17th
year-ish.
birthday when I was living at the Nice Temple.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay, so when did you get out?
Not long after living at the Nice Temple.
Okay, so did you, because you were at the end, right, I have to be careful what I say, but it's, you were a kind of whistleblower
Yeah.
at the end, but did you whistleblow to the Nice Temple against the sect, or did you just go to the outside world?
So, okay, so I was living at the Nice Temple, and I happened to bump into another leader who was lovely and encouraged the grihastas, the householders with normal lives that just like do the best they can, you know, in a normal like lifestyle kind of pace, like regular religion. And so I said, like, how is your way so different? Like, I would much rather follow your teachings than that.
Yeah.
How do I get out of that and follow somebody, to be honest, more sane?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you are.
So you'd realised the hell of fire and brimstone is a little bit of insanity.
Exactly.
Right.
And his response was brilliant. He was like, well, that place is already known by the rest of the Hare Krishnas, like around the world. It is known that that's a dodgy place.
Right.
And I'm gonna look into that, but first let's deprogram you.
Right. So he said deprogram.
Yeah.
So he knew what was going on. Right. Okay, so let's explain some of the Hare Krishna history, right? Basically, there were a few bad sects around the world that took this line, right? And there was a lot of abuse. And there was a sect in America as well that was like basically held up as child abuse. It was just put in. So all of this abuse under the name of Hare Krishna that had nothing to do with the religion that was actually, you know, pretty profound and would look after you.
Yeah.
Okay. So that happened, and then it was the end of the 80s, wasn't it? Or beginning of the 90s. I mean, I don't know what. I mean, so when things changed, it started changing at the end of the 90s, walking into the new way and rules for Hare Krishna.
Well, exactly. I mean, you say the words Hare Krishna and people think, oh, singing and dancing, you know, everything happy and wonderful. You know, you definitely don't think of the temple that I experienced.
No. What? I don't want to ask that question. Okay, so I'm skirting on this because I know you, right? And I'm skirting on this because it's painful, right? And even now, it's still painful, right?
To a degree. I mean, I have done a lot of therapy. I've worked on a lot of acceptance work. Like, because again, like, going back to that bad leader, he would always preach about attraction and aversion being two sides of the same coin.
Right.
So if you feel strongly, whether that's strong love or strong hate, you still give a damn about that issue.
Right.
If you don't care about something, you don't care. You just go, yeah, whatever. So it is coming to that place of acceptance where you're like, yeah, I made mistakes in the past, but I'm just trying to do what I can now.
Yeah. Well, you have, just for clarity's sake, you have a new partner, well, not a new partner, you've been married to him for years. You have a child, you have a safe existence now.
Yeah.
So look, if anything, there's hope. Yeah?
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Because you're sat here in my tattoo shop doing my podcast smiling, you know, and that's the best news ever.
Yeah.
So, you know, this was all over by the time you were 18.
Oh, yeah.
So you had, like, two of the most turbulent years.
Yes.
Involved in this brain indoctrinating nightmare.
Yes.
Okay. Right, we talk about rumination a lot, right? But rumination, before you did the acceptance work, you are looping round all these bad situations in your head going, shit, I could have done this, I could have done that. Well, you can't do fuck all because it's gone now.
Exactly. They always say hindsight's 20/20.
Oh, isn't it just? I wouldn't have spent years of my life hoovering cocaine up my face and injecting myself with other wonderful substances. Hindsight's a marvellous thing. The only thing you can do in life is not make amends, but make amends to yourself. Yeah. To your own well-being. Yeah. And I said to somebody this afternoon, right, who is struggling, that you have to be selfish with that. You have to be okay with yourself to walk forward. Because, and obviously I know I need to take my own advice sometimes, right? I know that. But if you can find a place in your heart to understand where you've been and it's over, then there are two things that will happen. One, you know the signs for another time, for another group. Because it can be like, oh, why don't you come to this yoga class? Why don't you come and do this? And then they go to, I tell you what, do you know about nutrition? And then you go to a nutrition class. Sorry, Nikki, to use that. But, you know, this is what happens. Then you find yourself love bombed. You find yourself in a position where you feel validated. And as human beings, sadly, that's what we need. That's why we have partners who we look to for comfort. Yes. And children who give us grief. So we can, you know, say, that's my child over there peeing on a flower pot. Yeah, sorry about that. But, you know, that's so we're proud of that. Because your internal feelings have to be positive for you to help the rest of your family get through their life.
Well, exactly. Like, I didn't want to stay in that victim mentality.
Right.
Like, how could I live the rest of my life?
Can I just say this as well? We've skirted across and not gone into detail, right? Because I don't want to, but there were some pretty fucking horrible things done, right? With this indoctrination, right? Well, in the situations you were in.
Yeah, just the toxic over humility.
Yeah. So
having to be like, I am just a worthless speck.
Yeah, to these wonderful people. Was the preacher, the hell and brimstone guy, was he humble, or was he, I'm this life, I am this person already, look up to me? Or was he like, we're all striving for this, in a kind of shouty manner by the sounds of it?
Yeah, it was just so much shouting. Yeah, he was basically saying, we all have to do this to get back to God.
Right. Guaranteed.
It's kind of like he was shouting, trying to convince himself to keep following.
I was literally just about to say, who was he trying to convince?
Yeah, just like the preachiest vegetarians or vegans you'll meet are the ones that are still saying, no, I want it, but no.
Yeah, I mean, also, life is about struggle.
Yeah.
And without generalising too much, you know, the struggle between eating meat and eating not, doing drugs or not, drinking alcohol to excess all the time or not, believing in Hare Krishna's sect, you know,
Yeah.
or not. I think it's important for everyone to realise, right, that if you are vulnerable and if you do need to have acceptance, there are legitimate places you can go.
Yeah.
If a world seems too good to be true, it probably is.
Yes.
There's a lot, I mean, you know, even sex trafficking, right? That's how they use the same thing. I'm trying to show you the spectrum of what's going on, right? So these girls that are lost, they arrive in a new town. There's a little girl that's their same age, and they take them to the same place, and then they fill them full of drugs and they kidnap them, right? That indoctrination is what human beings are capable of. So,
which is why I almost count myself lucky in a way that it was,
I suppose,
that sect that got me and not something far worse.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there are lots of people who didn't make it.
Exactly.
But we are all glad you did, and you weren't part of that. If there's anything you want to say to anyone out there, what would that be?
Wow. Don't rush into it being too trusting.
Mm-hmm.
Always listen to that critical thought, saying, what if this happens? What about that aspect? Don't cut ties from people that you've known and trusted for years.
Yeah.
Obviously. I mean, all of this goes without saying to most people.
No, you'd be surprised.
I think when you're in it, probably not. Because as we've said earlier, they're preying on people that don't necessarily have those ties in the first place to cut.
Yeah.
So if you're a lost soul,
yeah,
then who have you got to turn back to? Maybe you've lost everybody.
Exactly.
Emotionally, if not physically.
Vulnerability.
Yeah, it's definitely worth doing the work, especially if you have no frame of reference to what is a normal family or a normal childhood. That is where to start working on. Yeah. Not jumping into something that you think is a magic quick fix.
Right. There is no magic quick fix in any situation anywhere. No. Right. Who helped you get out of that? Right. So this nice guy, right, the other leader.
Yes.
Then when you came out totally, who helped you with this stuff?
Well, I ran back home and did my A-levels, so it was actually...
Just ran home, did my A-levels.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because kind of missed a chunk of the story here.
Yeah.
Because what had happened beforehand, I'd done that 3 months living at the nice temple. And then I'd gone back to him, and I had actually run over the border to Gretna.
Oh, shit.
And married him.
Yes. Oh, fuck. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Sorry.
So I had been that young and stupid.
Okay.
Because, as you said, the whole, like, running around behind the other monks' backs and lying and all of that, I was like, if I marry him, it's not a problem anymore, is it?
It was it? Did you go and tell them you're married?
Once we were married, there wasn't.
So there wasn't a problem. Holy shitballs! How are you supposed to get married then?
As I said, I was 17 and
no. I mean, how are you? I mean, if you're allowed to get married, but they want you to be a monk and not have contact.
Yes, that temple wanted everybody to remain just monks and nuns.
Yeah.
So, that's when I found this other nice guru.
Okay. So you had to go.
Who was all about the married couples,
right? But then, okay, can I the only in-depth question I want to ask is: did your marriage end because you left, or did you end it to get separation, or did it just fizzle to that conclusion?
All of the above.
Okay.
So I was deprogramming with help from this nice guru.
Yeah.
And like trusting all of those friends that I'd made living at the nice temple, whereas of course the only devotees that he had properly got to know were those rogue ones. So he was very resistant. He was pretty unable to deprogram.
Right.
And at the same time, before I agreed to marry him, I said, I am not having children before I turn 20.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to work on our marriage. This is just a 17-year-old saying this.
Yeah.
Like, we are going to work on our marriage, make sure that's rock solid before we bring any kids into anything. And he was like, yeah, of course. But then as soon as the ring was on my finger, he was pressuring me to have children. He was lecturing me constantly about all the things I was doing wrong. Like, for 1 or 2 hours, like, every night.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So the browbeating doesn't stop?
No.
Okay.
It got worse after I married him. And that's why I said, I need a break.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm going back, I'm doing my A-levels, I want the rest of my education.
Right. Well, thank God for that clarity.
Yeah.
Because then from that, you did not go back, did you?
No, because then I had the headspace to think clearly.
Yeah. So him forcing you and nagging you and talking to you about what you need to do was the catalyst for you to leave.
Yeah.
But isn't that weird that the catalyst for you to leave was the same catalyst but spun differently to get in the first place? That's the thing to recognise, the patterns of behaviour.
Yeah.
Well, you're not going to believe this, but we've completely run out of time. Okay? So look, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Okay? I don't want to keep going on about this, but also there are communities in your sphere, right, that look after you. We're about to form communities with Coffee and Coping. There'll be more about that soon, okay, along with Walking with the Wounded. We are trying to enable communities without the benefit of religion or a set of rules where people can come and talk without judgment, without love bombing, because I'm not capable of love bombing anybody. Right? So look, we've got to end. Hannah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Lee, nice one. We'll see you next time.
Thanks.